And we are now joined by John Lujan. He is a current state representative in our Texas House, and now he is making a bid for Texas Congressional District 35 down there near San Antonio. Representative Lujan, thank you so much for joining us. I want to first ask you, it's always the most important question, why are you running for Congress?
And that's a very good question. It was up when the maps came out, I started getting a lot of calls from people wanting endorsements, particularly a city councilman, Mark White, county commissioner, calling and saying, hey, you know, can you endorse us? And I was weighing through those things. I have a lot of friends, and I'm thinking strategically, what's the best way to do this? I had no intentions of running. In fact, kind of almost wanted to think of an exit strategy. I've been a state rep twice. I have a very tough district. My district is the most competitive district in Texas during the House races. I'm the first and only Republican to ever win this seat in the history of Texas. But anyways, I got looking at it, and folks were telling me all of my 118 district, and it runs all of South Bexar County, East Bexar County, up into the Northeast. Almost all of my district is in the new 35. It takes in that piece of Bexar County and then takes in Guadalupe County, Wilson County, and Karnes County. And when I looked at it, and then I saw the importance of the race, and then I had some really good friends saying, John, if you really care about the country, he goes, this seat is super important so that we can continue to have the majority as a Republican Party on the federal level, and you're the only guy to win the 118 on the House state level, says you would have a really, really good chance of winning this for the federal, the CD 35. And so I don't want to sound corny or nothing, and I'm not doing this for political reasons, but I'm a man of faith. And my dad's a retired minister, and my mom's retired principal, school principal. I called them. We got all my brothers and sisters together, nieces, nephews, my boys. I have 5 boys. They're all grown men. Everybody at my mom's house, and I shared with everybody, this is what I'm asked to do, this is what I'm thinking of doing. What do you think? And it was a lot of fun because there's a lot of teasing in the family, people making fun and stuff. But then we got talking and we prayed about it. You know, everybody said, man, this is the thing to do. I do live by, man, you know, I got to be responsible for what God puts in my path for the things that I do and don't do. And I just have to live some of the stuff that I preach to our young people. And so then we decided to run about 3 weeks ago. First thing I did is called my buddy Mark White and said, hey, I'm going to run. I know you were going to run. And he said, no, since you're running, he goes, I'm endorsing you, and you know, I'm pulling out. And we've got a lot of good endorsements from a lot of state reps, some U.S. Congress folks, and then a lot of mayors from the cities that are in my district. I have a good reputation. I work very hard. We have 10 reps in Bexar County, and I passed the most legislation out of all of those this last session, brought in the most money. I work really hard for my district, and so now I'm going to be doing this on the U.S. standpoint. And
sure, so let's talk about 35. It was one of the districts that was redrawn, and geographically the borders of it have drastically changed. It used to be parts of Austin and San Antonio. Now it's mostly, like you said, it's down there near San Antonio where you currently represent in the House district. You mentioned House District 118, very competitive. What is it about you that you were able to crack that ceiling there and win as a Republican in that district?
Well, you know, that was a question that was given to me in Washington. When I sat down, I was in Washington 2 weeks ago, and I met with congressional leadership. I met with the White House team, and as I was telling them like how important this seat is, and I said some of your numbers might be skewed because I'm the only Republican to ever win this seat. I said, so we got to be real careful. And then he asked me, wait a minute, how did you win? What's, you know, is it block walking? Is it TV or what? And I didn't have an answer for him. I said, you know what? It's just life. I'm a retired San Antonio firefighter. All the fire stations I worked were in my 118 district. It's just, that's where I live. I've been a Sunday school teacher for almost 30 years now. I got a big youth group. I've now transferred to the college and career young adults. I've got a big class. I teach every Sunday, even when I'm in session. I'll go home just to teach because I think it's that important. It keeps me grounded. I coached Pop Warner football for 30 years, so I know a lot of, I see it's nothing for me to go to a restaurant in my area and somebody, hey, Coach Lujan, and I don't even recognize them because they're men now, right? And I coached them when they were kids. And then my dad's, you know, being a minister, my mom a principal, my family all lives there. So it was just life. I've just been there my whole life. And then when I decided to run, even when I won, I had a lot of people say, I voted for you not because you're a Republican or you're a Democrat or whatever your beliefs, it's because of you. You know, I voted for you. And so I get a lot of that type of things. And that was, I never planned on running, but just living life prepped me for the run. And I think that's why I've been successful.
If you were to win this position and hold a position of power in Washington, D.C., what kind of issues would you be looking to tackle in your tenure in Congress?
That's a real good question, because that was the only thing stopping me from running. At the state level, I've been there 2 sessions. I'm now chair of international relations. I sit on trade, workforce, economic development committee. I was on appropriations. I've been blessed, man. I've been, and I think from that first session working to where I'm at today, the leadership role, the things we're hitting. I do a lot of juvenile justice work. I do a lot of stuff. The biggest thing that I'm carrying right now that I'm doing is for dyslexia, because we have 5 prisons in Texas, juvenile prisons, and I went to all 5 of them. A couple of them, I'm the only elected official to walk through those. And I went to all of them, and when I looked, and I didn't plan on it, but just by gathering a bunch of research, I found out that 90% of those kids are illiterate, 3rd grade reading level, that are in the prison, in the juvenile prison. And most of them being dyslexic, and a bunch of them not even diagnosed dyslexia. And so when I came back to San Antonio, we have a lady named Jasmine Doon, who's an expert. I went to her school called Celebrate Dyslexia, and I just dove into dyslexia. I want to fix this, because a lot of those kids that are in the juvenile justice system are smart, they're very articulate, they're sharp, they just can't read. And they never got diagnosed early enough. And then by the time they're in 6th, 7th grade, especially a young man from a rough school, is going to act tough, is going to talk back to the teacher, doesn't want to read in front of anybody. So they're going to skip class, they're going to get in trouble, they're going to be sick, all those things, classic stories of that. And then they start getting into trouble, and they end up in our juvenile justice system. And it was just because we didn't diagnose them from kinder to 3rd grade. That's the time when we can make a huge impact in their lives. Those are the things that I'm working on. Those are the kind of things that I'm thinking from a federal level as a congressman, to work with the locals, say, where do we need to insert programs or monies or things that we can do that's going to change the life. Can you think about that? All those 5 prisons in Texas, and I would say over half of them, they don't belong there. They're there because of, my intern, I love, and I'll say his name, Will. I love Will. He's my intern at the Capitol this session. When we had meetings on dyslexia, one day he just had a talk to me and said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "I'm severely dyslexic." And the thing that he had different, he had a mom and dad that took him to get tested. They got him all the right schooling, the right counseling, the right everything. And so now he's at UT, he's going to be graduating. Great kid, great kid. But if you think about that, what if he was with grandma? Or what if he was working parents that don't have time for that? That kid falls through the crack. Those are the ones that end up. So it's things like that, economic development. And I don't want to get running. I get on topics, I get passionate about it too much. But those are the kind of things that I'm looking at.
You seem passionate about education, about making sure people have a future ahead of them. What do you think are the issues in that district that will get people to go to the polls?
I think, bringing on Wilson County, Karnes, and Guadalupe. I'm familiar with Wilson and Karnes more so than Guadalupe County. I'm going to be meeting those folks, but those areas are rural areas looking for economic development, looking for, where do our kids, the kids that live in Floresville and Seguin, some of the bigger cities, and they're still small cities, they get educated and stuff and they leave because there's nothing there. So I was meeting this past weekend, I was meeting with some folks from Wilson County, some leadership folks, and they want to bring some industry, so we're brainstorming. So workforce, economic development, very, very important. One of the things, if I have to say I got to put a feather in my cap, was we now have JCB in San Antonio, which is a big manufacturing company out of England where they build these big tractors and front-end loaders. I worked with Governor Abbott's team to get that. There was 10 cities throughout the United States competing. It went down to 2, us in Atlanta, Georgia. We ended up winning it. But I had to work with Judge Sakai, our county judge, or CPS, our electrical folks, the water folks. It was a lot of work getting that together. I love that, man. I have fun. And then we won it, and it's in my district. And they're building a 1 million square foot building right now. Every time I drive by, it's up and up and up. By this time next year, it'll be employing 1,500 new high-paying jobs. So those are the kind of things that, and it's not so much that I'm super smart. What I feel like I'm good at is bringing people together, bringing everybody to a consensus, common sense approach on things, and then make things work.
Anything else you want to add, sir?
No, I'm just, I'm excited about this new chapter, and I'm looking forward to making a big difference.
Great, great. Representative Lujan, thank you so much for coming on. I
Thank
wish you luck.
man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All
I
right.
really do.